All right,
we're here. It's Monday. Today's the 13th. We skipped Friday. I had an out-of-town engagement.
And I ended up having to work a little bit over the weekend. I haven't done that in actually a few months. I have had Saturdays off, luckily. But I got pretty wound up this weekend with getting ready for today. I'm also organizing my golf program and helping with the basketball program. So while they were out with the varsity up north at a college, I was over here kind of trying to nail down the rest of the stuff with our fundraising activities coming up. So we decided to just skip out on Friday. Originally, I was going to go with you guys, and we were going to podcast from up at Chico.
From Chico State University.
Yeah, we were thinking about doing that, and then last minute I had to bail out. So here we are, Monday.
Monday the 13th. Busy weekend for us. Not so much in sports this weekend. Nothing too crazy.
No, nothing crazy.
But we did promise that Friday we were going to have a special, if you want to call it, segment or a little something that we had planned. But because plans changed, we're moving it to today. So we're going to start off with that since we went ahead and jumped on that early for Friday. So what the deal is me and Manuel, as I've said before, commonly we have, our knowledge of sports go back and forth. And from time to time, we challenge each other. And it happens, multiple times, whether it's in the gym or on the course for golf or in the court for basketball, wherever the case may be. But we do tend to test each other. We sat and thought about this for a couple weeks on what the punishment could be if we tested this trivially. So we thought we could do something similar to the cinnamon challenge with whey protein. But then we realized that wasn't really going to work because it's just going to break down with your saliva.
Yeah.
So it didn't really have the same effect. We had a couple other ideas. When Bryce Ratanico was here, we thought about doing the punishment where somebody had to take like an open hand slap or a punch. But then we thought that might be too dangerous and nobody wants to piss blood for a week.
Yeah.
So I went to Pismo, as we've talked about a couple weeks ago. And while we were in Pismo, I found some crickets. As you can see here, we'll be putting this video up on YouTube.
Bacon and cheese flavored crickets.
Yes. So I have not tried them. Neither has Manuel. This package has not been opened. So we really don't know how nasty or how realistic it tastes like bacon and cheese. So you may hear some noises of some serious nastiness.
When we get ready to, whoever ends up having to eat them, we'll
have to have some help.
Now, we better put this out in the open. What if it's a tie? Are we both going to do it?
No, then we will have Steven, our tech guy, Google a sports question a piece, and we'll go sudden death.
Okay, that sounds fair.
So that way there is no tie. No issue here. So we'll go ahead.
I like the question. I like both of y'all eat it. How about that?
What's up?
Y'all tie, both of y'all got it.
Nah, man. There must be a winner.
Yeah.
You ever heard of ties like kissing your sister?
The sister kisser.
That's what's good.
No, let's not.
All right.
So, if you want to go ahead and slide over this way, we'll go ahead and start with the questions. Would you like to ask first or answer first?
I'll ask first.
Okay, so just so we have the rules out, how many crickets we got to eat? One?
Just
two?
one. Yeah,
okay, just one?
Cricket. Just one cricket.
So out of the situation is 5 questions. You got to answer more right than the other guy. So Manuel's going to go ahead and lead off with the asking, and I'll start with the answering. Let's see how many I can get.
All right. We'll give you the easiest one first.
Okay.
Now, we decided that all these questions, they had to be related to stuff that we liked. They couldn't be random trivia.
Yeah, stuff that we actually have knowledge of.
So I picked 5 questions, and the first one was a basketball question.
Okay.
All right. Who drafted Chris Webber in 1993?
The Golden State Warriors.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. That is incorrect. The Orlando Magic drafted him number 1 overall and traded him to Golden State.
So because of the trade, okay, 0 for 1.
All right. Next one is an MMA question. Okay. Now, there was 2 ways to ask this. I'm going to go with the easier way because I don't think a name, I can't expect you to come up with a name. But so I'm going to give you the name.
Okay.
You're going to tell me, okay, Melton Bowen is known for what in MMA?
Oh, shit. He's known for what?
What is he best known for in MMA? Now, I didn't say UFC. It's MMA.
Do you have a second clue?
It's Pretty big part of MMA these days.
These days.
I can even give you a little teaser.
Okay.
It didn't become official in the UFC until UFC 14.
Ooh. I'm going to say wearing gloves.
Okay. Be more specific.
Of wearing the small ounce gloves, to cover your knuckles?
Yeah. Okay. Close enough.
What
It was
was-
the first one to use open hand gloves.
Open
the
yeah,
open
with
gloves.
the fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. 1-1.
So 1 for 2.
1 for 2 here. All right. So the Celtics drafted Chuck Cooper.
Oh, shit.
Okay. What is he best known for?
Oh, man. That's some history right
That's some history. It is. It's about knowing your team beyond
Yeah.
what's on the face of them.
there. Oh, man. Do you have a second clue to that or a teaser to that one?
It's history. It's
history.
history. It's Celtic history. I would consider it not just Celtic history,
But
though.
NBA history?
Probably NBA history. Yeah.
He was the first black finals MVP.
Answer's incorrect. Halfway right.
What was it?
He was the first African American drafted in the NBA by the Celtics, 1926.
All right. 1926. Jesus. 1 for 3.
Well, I figured because they made a big deal when I was looking up Celtic trivia. That was the first one that popped up.
That's all
and I was
right. Don't feel bad. When you hear my questions, you won't feel bad.
Okay, so Boston has had many baseball names.
Yes.
Okay, I want you to tell me which one of these they were not.
Okay.
Okay, we have the Boston Americans, the Boston Somersets, the Boston Pilgrims, and the Boston Red Sox.
Reading back again.
The Boston Americans, the Boston Somersets, the Boston Pilgrims, or the Boston Red Sox.
I'm going to go with the Boston Americans.
Incorrect.
What was it?
Boston has held all 4 of those names.
Oh, that's a trick question.
That's not a trick question. You could have said they went by all the names.
That's a trick
Oh.
question. 1 for 4. That's horse shit.
All right, here we go.
He worded that poorly.
We're going to let you guys weigh in on this one. All right, find a question. Identify this wrestler.
Okay.
Give me her wrestling name. I'm going to give you her
okay.
real name. You can give me her wrestling name.
All right.
Okay? Her real name is Patricia Ann Strategis.
That would be Trish Stratus.
Very good.
That's your favorite women's wrestler. Come on, dude. 2 for 5.
2 for 5.
All right.
All right.
Let's come on over here and see what you got. All right. Question number 1.
Okay.
This is some history right here. Who won the first PGA championship?
The first PGA championship. Oh, crap. Man, we're going to go back to 80-something, I think. It wouldn't be Snead or Saracen. We got Copa America going on behind us right here. Mexico, Venezuela just went up 1-0. The first PGA championship. I'm going to go with wow.
I told you wouldn't feel bad after you heard my question.
Have to be an old timer. Let's go with Mr. Kite.
No, sir. Jim Barnes.
Jim Barnes. Wow, yeah. Okay.
Here's a little fun fact. Do you know how much the purse was?
Probably like a couple $100.
$500.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was way back when they weren't making anything.
This one you should get this one. All right. What year were the Bengals formed?
Oh crap!
In case our listeners don't know, Manuel's a diehard Bengals fan.
Okay, Paul Brown founded them in 19. I'm gonna say 73.
No, sir. 1968.
68. Damn.
68. All right.
Oh shit! I'm running short on questions.
0 for 2. What was the score of the last Bengals playoff game, and who did they play?
The last Bengals
The
playoff
last
game?
one, the most recent one.
Is that
and
2
who
questions
did
or
they
is
play?
that 1 question?
It's a 2-parter.
Okay, so the first part of it was they played the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Correct.
Okay. Was the score 18-16?
Yes, it was. That was a correct score.
Yeah.
They lost to the Steelers 18-16.
Don't remind me about that game.
All right. So 1 for 3.
1 for 3. I got 2 more.
There you go. Number 4. This one's going to be interesting. See how strong your game is right here. What Mickey Ward boxing match happened on May 18th, 2002?
Mickey Ward versus Arturo Gatti.
Can you be more specific?
Give me the date again.
May 18th, 2002.
Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. His boxing game's strong, folks. That's 2.
That's 2. So we're tied. Oh!
So
Cricket snack.
We're going to find out right now what happened. What year did the Bengals own the number 1 draft pick?
Carson Palmer. That was 2001.
No, sir.
It's 2002.
Nope. It's 2003.
Oh, damn.
So we do have a tie, folks. We do have a tie.
Man.
It is 2-2.
Marvin Lewis's first year. How did I miss that shit?
So, go ahead. Get your phone. You can Google a question for me. I will do the same and Google a question for you. We will go sudden death. First one to get one right and the other person get one wrong. That will determine who eats a nice bacon and cheese cricket.
No specific criteria? Just
Would you like a specific category?
No.
All right.
But should be interesting here. So Valenzuela's up 1-0 on Mexico. Of course, this is earlier. This was a couple hours ago. So, excuse the pauses of silence. We're both kind of looking here for a question to ask each other. It's gonna be hard to find something, I think.
Oh, I got one for you.
Go ahead.
Okay. So your sudden death question is in the realm of golf.
Okay.
Okay. Who holds... I'm even going to be fair because I'm going to word this correctly and not try to trick your ass. All right?
Okay.
Who co-holds the record for the most consecutive victories at the Masters with 2?
Phil Mickelson and Jack Nicklaus.
Those are your final answers?
Yes.
Jack Nicklaus is correct.
Correct.
Phil Mickelson is not.
The other one.
Tiger
I was
Woods.
gonna say.
And there's a third. Nick Faldo.
Oh, that's right.
So if I get this question right, this dude's eating a bacon and cheddar cricket.
Okay. Seeing as how that was relatively easy, we'll give you one. Let's see how back in your history you know. What year were the Boston Celtics founded?
Oh, shit. Not doing me any
There's
favors,
no
huh?
trick question there.
Not doing me any favors on that one, are you? Okay, think about this. I'm going to say... I'm going to say 1946.
June 6, 1946.
Fuck yeah! Yeah!
I had to relook at that. I
Yes!
wanted to make sure.
Well,
Oh,
sir,
shit,
would you
man.
like a plate?
Oh, man, this is going to be nasty.
Fresh opening. You can see it's a fresh opening. Package has not been tampered with whatsoever. Go ahead and get a close-up of this.
Oh, I'm going to vomit watch.
Somebody get him something nearby.
Pull the trash can over here. Oh, did they buzz while I open it? That'd be awesome.
That'd be wicked.
I don't think I'm going to get kissed tonight.
You may not. I think we found something worse than onions.
It's a bacon and cheddar cricket. You want to go call your sisters?
Yeah.
This should be
This should be good.
Go ahead.
First off, let me say, good game. I'd like to thank all the little people that got me here. None of our sponsors, because we don't have any.
Not yet.
But I'd like to thank myself for studying at home and understanding the knowledge of my team, because I knew what year they were formed. He didn't. He didn't know what year the Bengals were formed. I knew what year the Celtics were formed, right? And I'd like to thank the people that, really stood by me in all this. Babe, thanks. I appreciate you. Stood up for me.
All right.
And most of all, I'd like to thank Glad for the trash bags that they provided for Manuel right now when he finishes this. Appreciate it.
Do I got to chew it?
Yes, absolutely. You got to take your sweet time.
How many times do I got to chew it?
At least 4. Oh, hey, you got to pick up that leg, bro. You don't get to break off a leg and think that don't count.
Oh, nastiness.
This is going to be real good.
It's just an M&M. It's just an M&M.
It's not.
Just an M&M.
It's an M&M with legs? It makes noise at night outside.
Okay, I'm in a jungle. I'm in Survivor.
Trust me, you're not going to survive on crickets. Look at your big ass. I'm going to say it's not that bad, judging by his face.
It's definitely not bacon and cheddar.
Oh.
Okay.
The swallow was worse, huh?
Yeah.
How many times have you said that?
All right.
It genuinely looks like the aftertaste is what's the killer here.
Yes. And they definitely don't taste like bacon and cheddar.
Well, I'm glad we did this.
Oh. Protein.
Yeah, technically it is. Anything you'd like to say to the folks at home that are watching this as you take your loss, hopefully graciously?
Before you make claims about knowing your team, you better fucking know them.
Fair enough.
I hope a leg doesn't get stuck in a tooth and come out later.
That might happen. That might happen.
Ugh. Okay.
All right.
That's over with.
Oh, man. All right. So, as we were here on Monday, over the weekend, as we just were watching before we started recording, the Warriors were in Game 5. Over the weekend, we had Game 4 Friday night. I believe it was Friday night.
It was Friday night, yeah.
Warriors came through. They held up.
They did.
They jumped out to a 3-1 lead, which was good, but there were some issues with Draymond Green and LeBron James. And, of course, as it usually is when LeBron James' name is in a headline and it has to do with suspensions and fines and stuff like that and whining and bitching to the
person
officials.
always gets the worst end of that shit.
Yeah, whoever's on the opposite end of that usually winds up eating it. And in this case, it was Draymond Green. And tonight in Game 6, it legitimately showed that he wasn't there and he's a big piece of what they do.
They missed him more, it looked like, on the offensive boards.
Yeah.
Because that guy's just been a vulture around the boards.
Not only that, but open looks. How many open looks did Harrison Barnes miss? Jeez.
Well, not even Harrison Barnes. Yeah, we're talking about Curry. We watched him throw up some bricks pretty much the whole fourth quarter.
Yeah.
He never really got going, it looked like. So.
And to be fair, Kyrie Irving, 41 points.
Yeah.
Tonight,
well, what did James finish
41
with?
as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's... And on a little side note there, I'm a little sad. So in Game 1, they finished, I believe it was 82-94. And I needed a 1 from the Cavaliers to win some money, and they didn't come through for me. And once again tonight, the Cavs finished with a 7 or the 4 again, and they finished with a 2 instead of a 1, and screw me over for money again.
Here's a stat for you from the NBA on ESPN's Twitter account. LeBron James and Kyrie Irving scored or assisted on 97 of the 112 points the Cavs scored tonight. The Warriors scored just 97 points as a team.
And that's the theme for Cleveland, is if those two are on, they have the chance to win. If even one of them is off, they don't.
Right.
Pretty unusual circumstances for them. They made such a big deal of getting Kevin Love here that he almost seems to be non-existent right now.
Yeah.
He's not making those those shots. He's not knocking stuff down. He sure as hell isn't defending anybody. So it's kind of weird to see so much pressure fall on Kyrie and LeBron. You know, where's Mozgov? That guy had such a good playoff run last year. I mean, they're just proof that the coach isn't really running the show there.
Yeah.
You know, definitely proof. But I mean, and for all that happened in Game 4, Cleveland had every opportunity to win that game.
Yeah.
Every opportunity to win that game. They did not lose that game. We talked about Golden State just taking it out of their hands and saying, no, this is ours. And if you look at what happened there, though I know Cleveland's walls were against the back. Cleveland's back were against the wall tonight. But look at the outcome of tonight's. I mean, Cleveland could have potentially been going into Game 6 with a 3-2 lead.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's very, very realistic. But once again, you know, hey, just when LeBron goes to the basket, they play much better than when he likes to stop and jump shoot. So he's just got to get to the basket and let the rest of it work itself out. When they got to start crashing down, then they can start kicking it out. Irving will knock him down. I'm sure Love will start knocking him down. And, you know, maybe even hitting Tristan Thompson cutting to the basket. But it all starts with that guy getting to the basket. So that's basically what's got to happen for them. You know,
I just think that Draymond Green's play, not only, you said this while we're watching the game, is emotionally, it's huge for them. Not just in the scorebook or what he does on the floor. Emotionally, he is the heartbeat of that team.
Well, and I will take a stab on the dark here and say he's probably the best hustler on that team right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy provides so much energy around the basket. These guys, when he kicks out an outlet pass, they're running down for transition. You know, they're flying down the court because they're not going to waste an opportunity that was given to them by someone out there busting their butt for defensive rebounds, you know, or working his butt off on the offensive glass. You know, they give him that extra effort. And when you don't have somebody in there to do that, you saw Curry kind of force shots today. Yeah. You saw Thompson kind of be kind of
he was looking more for the foul down the stretch.
And it doesn't work like that, you know. Livingston wasn't knocking. We saw him miss a couple of those short-range jumpers that he's just been nailing every game. So it's kind of weird. But, again, you know, it's all going to come down to Irving and James, and they're going to go back home now.
Yeah,
they could potentially.
The good news for the Warriors is they've won there.
Yeah,
they've won on the road.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
and the funny part here, to me, what's going to be happening here is, can Cleveland finish this game in Cleveland? Because they know they can win in Golden State, but how much is it going to take for them to win that third one? And then you're looking at the prospect of Golden State potentially losing for the first time all season 3 in a row for only the second time in the season back-to-back games. I don't see it happening.
Right.
Homage to the all-knowing Mr. Justin here, who called Golden State when they were down 3-1 to Oklahoma. They're just the better team right now. They're the better team. They find ways to keep themselves from losing that second game in a row or that third game in a row.
Right.
You know, they're able to fight off everything. They'll overcome everything. Hey. Everybody forgot we were podcasting today. But yeah, definitely. You know, we're gonna see who's got the bigger cojones here. Is it gonna be Golden State or is it gonna be Cleveland? And I'm sorry, but time after time, LeBron proves that he just cannot step up in that clutch moment. He does not want to take the burden on him and strap the team to his back.
To me, I don't see that this was a huge game for LeBron as much as it was for Irving.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
You know, I know LeBron had 41, but it wasn't the game that Kyrie Irving had.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, what you're going to see on ESPN is LeBron James highlights.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's all you're going to see. I mean, he took a lot of good shots. I think his shot selection was better. His defense definitely. We saw him block a couple of shots, hustling back. You know, if he did that more often, man, they'd probably be up 3-1. You know, maybe clinching the series here. But hey, you know what? He's going to play who he wants to play. That's why he's got around him who he has. He's got the coach that he wants. Hey, you made your bed, lie in it now.
Yeah,
so
definitely. As we're going through stuff here from basketball, the NFL had a bit of a headline with Von Miller. For those of you who don't know who Von Miller is, he's a star linebacker for the Denver Broncos, who in the last week have gone to the White House and were presented with their Super Bowl championship rings.
Yeah.
And there was a photo taken of Von Miller with a number of guys. And a couple of those guys were Peyton Manning and John Elway. And there were, I believe, one or two other gentlemen in the photo. And it was posted I believe it was by Denver's Instagram
say
that
it was-
originally posted
Yeah.
the picture.
Yeah.
But when he reposted the picture, he cropped out John Elway. And for those of you who don't know why that's relevant, John Elway is the president of football operations for the Denver Broncos. And Von Miller and the Denver Broncos are currently in contract negotiations because he's essentially franchised to their team for next year for about $14 million. The deal that I read that he was put out on was somewhere in the range of $144 million.
Yeah, just a ridiculous contract for.
And he was
linebacker.
guaranteed almost 40 of it, is what I read. So, and he denied that. And I think it was something like 4 years or 5 years, something in that range. So
$38.5 million is the offer on the table right now. per
That's
year.
guaranteed money?
That's guaranteed money. Yeah, in guaranteed money. That's a lot of money. You know, they wouldn't pay Brock Osweiler. And while I won't say Osweiler is a better player than Von Miller, I think that position means more to that team.
But do you think that Osweiler earned the money?
It isn't even really about earning the money at that point. I think it is more about... Okay, so let's look on the other side. Mark Sanchez, they brought him in.
Right.
They didn't pay him what they would have paid Brock Osweiler.
Right.
They're basically saying that Sanchez could step in. I think when they let Brock Osweiler go, they probably were saying, okay, if he's going to go, we need to make sure the defense stays intact, and they made it a point to sign Von Miller. The problem is everything that I've read has pointed to Denver saying, okay, Miller's good, yes. Miller's one of the best, if not the best linebacker in the NFL, because I think Luke Kuechly would have something to say about that.
Right.
Okay? But they're definitely saying he's the most important part in Denver in that defense right now. But they're not saying he's earned that money yet, because they're not willing to give him that max deal. You know? Now, here's the problem. If you take Miller out of that defense, is it a good defense? Yes. Is it the best in the NFL? Top 5. I guarantee you it's top 5. Is it that shutdown defense that Mark Sanchez needs? No, it is not. And if these guys, I mean, I understand there's politics behind every signing. I understand there's logical reasoning behind every signing. But this guy, when they decided to let Brock Osweiler go and bring in Mark Sanchez, they basically said our defense will carry us. If Miller gets out of Denver, they're going to find themselves not just taking a small step back. They're going to drop back to 9-7, maybe 10-6.
Right.
Maybe a wild card team. Maybe. You know, I'm sorry. I've never been, I don't want to say I'm not a Sanchez fan, but I always felt like he got too much credit for what happened at the Jets. That was all a defensive team. That was Rex Ryan and his defensive mind and the defense that they built there. You saw what he did in Philadelphia.
Not only the defensive mind, but the way that they pounded the hell out of the ball.
Well, again, a formula. That's the formula. When you're on that kind of team, you don't have to play spectacular. You just have to.
It was not
lose
Mark
games.
Sanchez that got them to back-to-back AFC championship.
No,
games.
and I don't care what anybody says. If you believe that, then you don't know football. You just don't know football. And what happened? Why they lost the AFC championship? Because at some point, you have to be able to play the next level quarterback, and he's just not.
I legitimately don't understand why that's the route that he went. I mean, that guy is just—he's a continual fire that you have to figure out how to put out.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't agree with
there's
that.
There's a lot of ways
they
to
could have
mask
went a different direction. Initially, Colin Kaepernick saying he was unhappy in San Francisco with Chip Kelly.
Well, you even still have Ryan Fitzpatrick floating.
I mean,
around
I understand the deal with Kaepernick's contract.
Yeah.
It's a poison pill.
Yes,
it is backloaded ridiculously.
Yeah.
And I understand that. But you talk the 49ers into paying some of that salary, and suddenly it
it's
changes.
a little bit different of a story.
You know, you just mentioned Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's another guy I'm not sold on.
Now, that's another situation. I'm not sold on him either. He used to be a Bengal back in the day.
Right.
Carson Palmer got hurt one year. He had to fill in the whole season. That's where he made his money. He had a decent season, but he's just not that next level quarterback.
To me, he's a journeyman.
But I'll tell you what, I haven't seen anybody have chemistry with Brandon Marshall the way he has.
Yeah.
Cutler threw some touchdown passes, don't get me wrong, but him and Fitzpatrick just seemed to fit.
They clicked.
And then you threw in Eric Decker there, and you had, I'm not going to say an extremely potent offense, but you had one good enough to compete in that division with New England, which is what that division is all about.
Right.
So,
okay, so going back to Denver, do you see Denver still as the favorite to win the AFC West?
with or without Von Miller?
With
Von Miller?
understanding that they get the deal. They have till July 15th to get this deal done.
The favorite, I don't know. And here's the reason, and people are going to laugh me right out of the block. No, it's not Kansas City. It's Oakland.
Yes.
I think that Oakland has done a lot of good things in this offseason for their defense.
They showed up some defensive issues.
They've already showed that they have some offensive prowess. As long as their offense can avoid taking that 1 year off where they step back, I think they are, I don't want to say they're the favorites, but they're definitely a dark horse because they're going to win games that people don't think they can win. They can win at home against Denver. They can win at home against Kansas City. The question for Oakland becomes, can they win on the road? Can they go to Denver and win a game? Can they go to Kansas City and win a game? You don't have to win both, but you definitely have to win one of them on the road. So
I think if they're going to get one of the two, it's going to, and as much as it pains me to say, it's going to be the Denver game they steal. I don't really care for Kansas City because to me, I don't know if it's because they're not flashy and entertaining or they fly under the radar like that, but to me, they're not that great of a team, but their defense is just top notch.
Good. And I'm going to tell you what, for all of the flack that he took in San Francisco, Alex Smith was made for Andy Reid's system.
Yeah.
Andy Reid knew exactly what he wanted when he went there. He grabbed Alex Smith and said, hey, jump on my back. We're going to make some money together, and we're going to win some games. And I'll tell you what, he's been nothing but successful in Kansas City.
Right.
Andy Reid knows
don't get me wrong. It does help to have Jamal Charles.
And again,
another system that fits.
They don't need him to be spectacular. Yeah. If you looked at when Gore was running at his best, Smith was having some decent years too.
Think of it this way. You've brought in Andy Reid, who runs a system where the quarterback doesn't have to be a superstar. Mm-hmm. That the running back doesn't have to touch the ball 40 times a game to be the guy.
Yeah.
You can run him out, which is what they do. Swing plays, screen passes, the short shit that get you the yards.
How many touchdowns did their receivers have this year? Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
It was 2.
Yeah,
it was 2. He just doesn't throw. It's not designed for that.
It's to minimize the mistakes and the opportunities to make the mistakes.
Look at the 1 year he had all the pieces together. Was the year he took Philadelphia to the Super Bowl. And the argument always going to be is if Terrell Owens is healthy that year, they probably win. He was playing with a torn ACL that year. But again, Andy Reid's system fits Alex Smith. But again, this is more about the Raiders. I think this is about the Raiders and where they go this year with what they've gotten. They got all the pieces they need. Well, maybe not all of them, but
I wouldn't say all.
They got a lot of them.
They fixed a lot of problems.
Yes, and
they've done it in a short time.
The real question is going to be, now they drafted the safety, and they did steal Reggie Nelson from Cincinnati. The question is going to be, can their back end hold up when their backs are against the wall? Yeah. Reggie Nelson is going to help with that tremendously. He's been doing it in Cincinnati for years. Okay, the question is going to become, does the other safety make it? Because remember, Charles Woodson's gone now.
Yeah.
So, and will their corners hold up? Now's when you're going to find out if you have shutdown corners and if you have the back end to help, 1, with the run support and 2, with the pass support. Yeah. Are they going to be able to play that? But I don't think that Denver's a favorite. I think that Denver has just done the wrong things in the offseason. Miller, even if he does come back, is going to be disgruntled. Yeah. You didn't want to give this to me up front. I had to strong arm you. Are you serious?
Yeah, I think I had to pull this out.
This is already creating some problems within the cropped picture with Elway out of it. You're already being defiant, and we all know he's got that history already. I don't see him staying. I can see Elway saying, you know what, we can do without him.
Well, here's the interesting thing that I listened to this morning. As you know, I listen to many podcasts on my own time. And one of the podcasts that I follow is Donald Cerrone's Partycast. Mm-hmm. And last week, one of the episodes that dropped, it was several guys. It was, I forget the guy's first name, but it's Wolf from Denver. He's one of the linemen. Mm-hmm. It was him, a former hockey player, and then Cerrone's wrestling coach, Jafari, and another gentleman. And they were talking about, winning rings and being in the playoffs and all this stuff. And one of the things that Wolf talked about was how he has to check Von Miller.
Yeah.
Which was interesting because this was, a week ago. This is before the picture came out. This was before the White House and the ring ceremony. So it was interesting to hear that Von Miller still kind of has an attitude that every once in a while has to get brought back down to reality and taken down a peg. But, me being an Oakland homer now, I'm definitely excited for this season coming up for them in that division. I don't think that there's a clear-cut favorite.
No, I think that's as wide open a division right now.
I definitely think that with Kansas City, that if anybody would be the one to pull away, it would be them because of that defense. But there's just not enough offensively.
Yeah.
If you play good defense, your luck's just as good as anybody else's. And so I think that for that, pulling for Oakland, you could admit this and vouch for me on this. I'm a sore loser when I play ball, and I'm a competitor. I run my mouth when I play ball. But when it's over, it's over. And one of the guys that I cannot stand watching is Phillip Rivers. So going into San Diego, I want to see him get both of them, one at home and on the road.
Yeah. That division. I think 11-5 wins that division this year. And I definitely think after looking at the Raiders' schedule, I think they're definitely at least 10-6, maybe 12-4. A game here, a game there. They can steal one from.
The thing I want to see from them this year is win the close ones.
And that's where they struggled.
To me, that shows progress.
Well, as I say, that was their struggle, was closing games out last year. And the biggest part of it is Carr. Carr's a year older now. I don't want to sit here and anoint him as the next great one, but he's definitely showed flashes.
Well, I feel like early on in the season, they minimized his mistakes and his reads were there and things like that down the stretch. But when you got into the back end of the season in the second half, some of the throws he made were questionable at best.
Well, and you got to stop and think, though. His running game also wasn't there late in the season. Every quarterback, Smith has his running game. He's got Jamal Charles. Andy Dalton has Giovanni Bernard and the other, I can't even remember the other kid's name for some reason.
Hill?
He's got Jeremy Hill there. Even freaking Romo had Murray there. He had even McFadden had a decent year there this year, able to keep guys off of their backup.
He's going to take a seat behind Ezekiel Elliott.
He is, yes, he is.
Him and his crop
every
top.
quarterback needs the protection of the running game. All of them do. Even the superstars did. Troy Aikman had Emmitt Smith. Joe Montana had Roger Craig. You stop and think about every quarterback. Every good quarterback has the protection of his running game. If you're mediocre, then you've got a great defense behind you too, and the coaches understand that.
Right.
One of the things that Oakland did that was real good was they shored up their defense. They got him a little bit more protection, and they're trying to solidify their line for the running game. We still don't know what kind of running back Latavius Murray is. We know he's explosive, but so was Chris Johnson for a year.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to figure something out with that running game to protect Carr a little bit so that he's not like his brother running with his head cut off, running for his life every other play.
Right.
So hopefully he's a hometown guy. He's a Fresno kid. He's out of Bakersfield Christian. I hope he does well. I root for him every time I see him. I can't believe I say that and admit to it because he's a Raider, but I root for the kid, and I'd like to see him do well. And as long as it seems like they're stepping in the right direction to protect him, unlike Houston did with his brother, they're definitely trying to get him in a good situation, and he's there. He's going into his fourth year.
This will be his third year.
Third year. I'll tell you what, not everybody can be Andy Dalton and make the playoffs their first 5 years. It's not easy to do, but you like to see the maturation from quarterbacks, and this kid's definitely showing it.
I think that a lot of that comes with the progression, though. Andy Dalton made the playoffs like that, but how successful were they? How ready was he legitimately?
He was never ready. And they always make that comparison to freaking Mark Sanchez. And it's like, will you stop giving Sanchez credit for something he did not do? He did not take that team through the playoffs. That defense carried that team as far as they could. And when they needed him to come through and win a game, he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So little bit of NFL fodder for you there. There's a lot going on. There'll be a lot of signings. You got camp starting now. We're on a countdown here till the Hall of Fame game.
Late August.
It could not get here early enough, in my opinion. But
as we wrap up the NBA Finals,
the
next thing coming up is the MLB All-Star Game, and then it's just a dead period.
Yeah, well, and that's
even at that, the All-Star Game has become a little less and less because guys continually go, you know what, I'd rather sit out.
Yeah.
Even the Home Run Derby isn't as entertaining. They've tried to change the rules. They've tried to do this team, and it's just not the same.
The NBA Finals will probably be over, but, we got U.S. Open. This is U.S. Open week for golfing.
Which, again, Tiger Woods.
Yeah, not playing.
Not playing again.
Not playing.
Still not
Tiger, baby,
ready.
if you're listening, if somebody's listening and knows him, I can fix you. Just come see me.
Tiger, Redbook.
We can
.com. You can fix yourself. Who cares how much it costs? If everybody knows you like pussy, come on.
So, that's all right, Tiger. We're men. We all like it. Anyways, we got U.S. Open coming in this week. We had some good boxing this weekend. Lomachenko fought this week. For those of you that don't know, Lomachenko is a guy. He's the only. I don't want to say the only one. I can't think of the other ones off the top of my head. But this guy's a 2-time gold medal winner in the Olympics, okay? He's only working on his 7th professional fight. This was his 2nd title fight the other night on Saturday against Rocky Martinez, and he knocked him out in the 5th round. And there's a lot of people that said they were surprised, but he was a 7-1 favorite against a champion that had been champion for a little bit already. So Lomachenko definitely a name to watch in that division as he starts working his way up. He wanted his 2nd career professional fight was a title fight. He was ready. This guy's not inexperienced. He is not green. He's not going to have to learn his way through the ranks. He's ready. He's going to start taking people out. The other fight that happened this weekend was John Molina Jr. fought Provodnikov, and Provodnikov, known for his hand power, just wasn't there.
Really?
John Molina Jr. outboxed him for about 8 of the 12 rounds and took a majority decision to win the title. So boxing's starting to pick up a little bit. Usually about this time, we get this decision that just jacks up the sport. I hate it, but I'm starting to watch. There's going to be a lot more boxing coming on. HBO's got a great schedule coming up through the next couple of months. So does Showtime. Golden Boy's with Showtime now. For if any of you like Scandal, read the Golden Boy HBO Scandal. That's awesome because of the way they think he crossed him.
Oh,
but
jeez.
there's a lot of stuff coming up boxing wise, and a lot of these guys have made mentions of possibly going MMA at some point.
Well, speaking of MMA, there's 2 pieces of MMA information we got today, news if you will. The first one has to do with Brock Lesnar. I don't know if you saw this.
I did not see it.
The anti-doping agency has given Brock Lesnar an exemption.
Well, he's coming from WWE. Why wouldn't they?
Not the point. Different kind of testing.
Really?
Yes, it's not the same.
Okay.
They don't do that kind of testing. They have their own wellness policy.
Okay.
And there are different ways to break that wellness policy. The WWE has a policy that if you don't piss in a certain amount of time, that they walk up and they say, hey, we're here to test you, and you can't pee in that amount of time, that's considered a failed test in their wellness policy, which I don't agree with. To me, you come back the next day, and you come back the next day until they pee.
Well, see, that's okay. So this will hit a little close to home for me. My work is the same way. When they show up, you have so long to piss, and if you don't piss, you go straight to the clinic to give a blood sample. And actually, you're not allowed to leave the base once the drug testers show up. You've actually got to stay there and wait until they call the names. And they haven't done it in a while, but they call the names. You go in and they watch you. Stall stays open. They watch you do the whole thing.
How many guys make that joke?
Which one?
You want to come hold it for me?
What's funny was we've had people test dirty. That's what's even funnier. So.
Yes, we would. We'll see it.
And for those of you wondering, no, they didn't test dirty for steroids.
No, not your job.
Not my job. But no, yeah, that's it's a time thing. They always say that most people can piss on demand. We had one guy one time, he was diabetic, and he couldn't pee on demand. It was pretty much, and that guy was sitting there drinking water for 2 hours, and they were going to fail him. And he's like, you can't fail me. I'm diabetic.
It's a health issue.
A health issue, man. So they ended up sending him over to get blood. But that's to me, being able to.
And this is what's interesting. 2 months ago, we sat in front of a TV and watched Dana White talk about Conor McGregor and how nobody gets treated differently. Fast forward to the month of June.
Now we're talking about.
We're not talking about a press conference. We're not talking about doing promotion for a fight that is in accordance to your contract of what is within reason. Mm-hmm. We're talking about a anti-doping test to prove that you're not on steroids, to prove that you're not on HGH, to prove that you're not on TRT. I mean, and you're going to say that this dude gets to the pass? I'm not saying he's dirty. I don't know. I've never read of him testing dirty and breaking the wellness policy for WWE either. But the point being is that if everybody's the same, tell him get in line.
Why is he
drop trowel? Yeah. Here's your cup, buddy.
Yep.
And to me, that's what's wrong with this.
Yes. Well,
to me, there should be more fighters standing up saying, "Hey, what the hell?"
Yeah, I agree.
And there's not.
Well, and because they're not, this will go back to the whole Backlash thing. If they start standing up, there is no cash cow for them to go elsewhere. now I've already said, if all these guys got together and started saying, hey, what the hell? Okay, so here's a little bit WWE history for you, WWF, whatever you want to call it. I used to watch it back in the day, and I remember D-Generation X, McMahon took off, and he was nowhere to be found. He was chasing Linda somewhere. And they came in, and they started just fucking with the lineups. It was pretty funny, actually.
Right.
It was a good storyline. And then one night, all of the wrestlers got pissed off and were finally like, okay, wait a minute.
Mutiny.
They can't. Well, yeah. I mean, so The Rock gets everybody together and they stand in the center of the ring. And it was funny because it wasn't like The Rock and his crew. It was everybody. And at that time, The Rock and the Big Show had a big old feud going on. And Big Show standing sideline with him, you know. And they called D-Generation X out and said, hey, either you start handling business the right way or we're walking and we're starting our own.
Right.
If the UFC fighters would just get together and say, hey, look, man, we want a bigger cut of this pie that we know we're only taking a slice at a time out of, okay? And two, if you're going to say something like everybody's treated the same.
Damn a slice. It's a sliver.
Okay,
It's a sliver.
they would even say a sliver. It is. If they just start demanding things, they'd get some shit done. But I don't think anybody wants to try. I
just think that there's ways that people will get tied up that they don't want to fight with. In this instance, you stand up, you fight against the thing that Brock Lesnar doesn't have to do the drug test, but you do. Okay, he fires you. We don't want you. You're released. What's the justification? What are the grounds for the firing? That's not going to go to court because you can prove that you didn't breach your contract.
Here's the deal: is it will go to court. But you don't take it to court. You tell them, well, fire me then. So they fire you. You're released from your contract. If everybody steps up and starts getting fired, pretty soon they don't. I'm sure they would stop at some point. But pretty soon you're like, hey, you see that, guys? See what's going on over there? Let's go over here. Let's make our own money. You know? Or somebody could spearhead. Somebody could grab Bellator or something and just
Well, they say allegedly that Bellator's in good hands now. It's just the matchmaking that was the issue. Mm-hmm. Which obviously we know the circus main events that they had.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, that was just a serious, interesting piece of information to be dropped out at the end of this week.
We talked about Dana White doing shit and running by his own rules, and that's more proof of it right there. More proof of him just putting his foot in his mouth. He probably forgot he said it, honestly. You know?
It wasn't that he said it.
Or it's a big old fuck you to Conor McGregor.
I don't think it's a fuck you to Conor because they got the deal done with Nate, obviously, in that business, but I definitely think this is him kind of going, well, this is my court, and you play by my rules, and if you don't like it, you could take your ball and go home.
Yeah.
You know, and home's a long fucking walk when you ain't got no money in your pocket.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that definitely was that. I don't think so much that it was a big fuck you to Conor McGregor. Although I do believe that this other piece of news is news for us. It's not big news in the world of MMA. It's not big news in the world of sports. But this little podcast that we have going on. Over the weekend, as I said, I was out of town. And while I was out of town, I continued to keep up on our Instagram page and kind of see how many views we were getting with stuff and downloads and whatnot. Like, just that kind of business. And as I'm going through my phone, a notification pops up for our Instagram page. And I see that the name that says that liked our photo from our last episode, which would have been a week ago, which was the episode about the NBA Finals, which was about Ariel Helwani, which was about Michael Bisping knocking out Luke Rockhold, and of course, Hombre, the Gorilla Lives Matter. And it was just 4, if you've been on our Instagram page, you know, it's just 4 still frame photos that I put together. It's pretty simple, just kind of a quick view of what we talked about in the episode. And I look at the name in the like section, and it says Chris Cyborg liked your photo. And I was like, that can't be the right person. That's a fan page. You know, we do talk a lot about MMA regularly. We've had Bryce on the podcast, those types of things. So I figured there's no way that this is really her. So I check. Speaking of checks, it's got the blue check mark. She's verified. It's Chris Cyborg.
Liked our photo.
So I go ahead and I screenshot it and I put it up on the page that she liked, you know, the photo, that it was a big deal to her. Unbeknownst to me, one of our followers points out, dude, the girl liked your picture, but if you look before that, her boyfriend liked the photo several days ago. I was unaware of who her boyfriend was, and apparently that gentleman liked the photo as well. So for those of you who are listening or kind of have come back and listened to certain ones, come and gone, hey, we got real people out here showing some love. This is pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie, it was a big moment for us, and this is something that we started doing as a side project for fun.
Yeah.
That if something comes out of it, awesome. But if it doesn't, we're still gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, we've gotten some pretty regular people listening to the podcast, and this was a big one for us, just because it was like, wow, damn, somebody way out there, would be considered a different level of income people,
right?
A big name. She actually took the time to check it out, and I'm sure her old man said, "Hey, you should check this out. These guys are pretty crazy or something." So wait till they hear me eating.
So
fucking cricket.
If she is listening somehow, thank you, Chris Cyborg, for the showing some love on there. And if she doesn't, I hope she does soon.
Yeah.
And just in general interest, you see, that's a big name person.
Yeah.
That is showing us some love. So definitely make sure that you're following us and checking us out. That to me, that's a milestone for this podcast and for us.
It is. We said we were going to do this to have fun. We've been having fun. We got the pleasure of having Bryce on here. That was awesome.
Yes.
We thought it might happen, and then he made it happen, which was cool because he was here. But as things start to grow, it gets more exciting for us to we actually look forward to these Mondays and these Fridays, to be able to sit down and just shoot the shit and kind of go over what's going on. So, Chris, hey, thanks a lot for that. That was awesome for us. You made our day that day. We're both walking around with a smile and grin on our face, and it was pretty cool. But gonna mention something here. We don't often get into world news or politics or anything like that, for good reason. We talked about it yesterday. We just like to try to stay on the positive. We like to keep things on the up and up. We don't want to depress everybody. You want to get depressed, watch CNN or watch Fox, and you can sit there
real fast.
Yeah, you can sit there until you're feeling lower than a damn snake if you really wanted to, and that's not the point of this podcast. We try to keep it positive, but thoughts and prayers are with the people who lost loved ones in Orlando, the people who lost their lives in there, freaking another lunatic in there shooting people for no reason. There's a lot of BS going on about why and who we should hate and who we should not. It all starts with hate. If you find a reason to hate one person, you can find a reason to hate a million people. And if you're not careful, hate will start to overtake you. And that's obviously what happened here. The guy's an extremist, whatever religion you want to call him from. And he took it to the next level. And it really doesn't matter if you take the guns away from everybody. They're going to find a way to hurt people. Yeah. And I just wanted to make sure we acknowledge our thoughts and prayers are with the people of that town, and especially with the family members who lost people there, because there was 50 people dead at the last time we heard, 53 wounded. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
I on my side, I'm a younger cat. I don't watch the news just because I feel like the stuff that gets put out there is generally negative. I mean, there's positive things that happen around the world every day, and they don't generally get the exposure that the negativity does. Yeah. And there are people out there that say, "Oh, well, the media is controlled, man," and this, it may be. And I guarantee there's people, as we've talked about with the Ariel Helwani story in the UFC, about how they made him sit on information and stuff like that. That's just a small piece in a sport. That's not counting world news that affects people. Yeah. And on a grander scale, in a much bigger picture. And I mean, it may very well be one of those things that the media gets spun in certain ways, and articles and online, especially with the internet. How easy everything, you could Google something and bam, it's there. But and we've talked about this, that we want to keep this lighthearted. Yeah. The point of this podcast, when you listen to us, is that you'd sit there and go, "That's some shit I do," or that I want to hang out with those guys and have that conversation too. Yeah. I got my 2 cents. Can I talk about that too? And just being, ourselves. And to me, if we're being honest, absolutely, we're aware of the situation, and our thoughts and prayers are with those who lost. They did not deserve. Whatever their life choices are, that's, in my opinion, that's their business. It's not for me to say it's right, wrong, or indifferent.
It's not for anybody.
But on a grander scale, this shit as a whole needs to stop. Yeah. It's got to stop. You said yourself, a lot of it starts with hate and taking over. I'm just so sick of people being offended about everything. You're profiling me this. You chose me because of that. No, it's not about skin color. It's not about religion. It's not about, anything other than the fact that there are some sick fucking people out there, and this shit needs to stop. And people need to quit worrying about offending people and this and that. Oh, I don't want to say that because this person's sensitive to that or that person's sensitive to that. You know what? They are, but fuck them. You either get thick skin or you move on and move out to a different area where you don't want to be a part of what's going on. You know, and that's just, you know, a little piece. I don't want to go too far into it because that, like we said, that's not what this is about. But we definitely don't want to act like we're oblivious to this. That, you know, ignorance is this thing, bliss, you know, as they say.
No,
but
ignorance is not bliss.
It's not true.
Acknowledge the tragedy. You know,
yes,
you don't just
absolutely.
turn a blind eye to it. And the more important was we want to show that, like Justin said, we might not agree with people's choices, but it doesn't mean it doesn't mean we're inhumane and don't care about people. You know, nobody deserved to have that happen. Those people definitely did not deserve, regardless of their life choices. So, again, thoughts and prayers are with him.
And I feel like in this podcast, generally when you listen to podcasts or you're watching ESPN or something like that, you're getting away from that.
Yeah.
The same way you would go to a movie and get wrapped up in the story and the movie plot and everything else that comes with it. I feel like that's something that we can be as an outlet, you know, and in a positive light of, you know, something like I said, it feels like you're with friends when you're listening to this podcast. That you're with your boys.
Yeah.
That you know, I could have a beer with those guys. You know, I could bullshit with those guys. We talk about the same. Me and my boys talk about the same thing. You know, shit like that. So, you know, again, to all the listeners out there that have continued to come back, subscribe to the YouTube page and to, you know, Podbean and the downloads, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome.
You know, we do check on that stuff. We do know, you know, where it's coming from. It doesn't go unnoticed. We appreciate you. And, you know, we want to keep up with the positivity and the laughs and the bullshit that we bring to this table every 2 times a week. It's not just once a week, but twice a week.
Yeah.
And make sure that you follow us. You can find us on Instagram at totally_unprofessional on Instagram. You can find us on YouTube at Totally Unprofessional Podcast in the search bar.
Don't be afraid to comment and shit on pictures or on YouTube. You know, you got a comment section there. I know Podbean does too. The Instagram, both me and Justin check it repeatedly. So, you know, you tag something on there or you say something, you know, we're likely to respond to you right away. One or both of us, actually.
Absolutely.
So, you know, just put it out there. It's
you can find us on Podbean. The link is in our bio on the Instagram page. There's a little finger emoji pointing at it. All you got to do is click it. It takes you straight to the Podbean page. And you can either download it or you can listen to it right there. So if you don't have time, download the thing. Listen to it when you're jogging, when you're on your lunch hour, whatever you need to do, you know, to get that there. Because we're not going anywhere.
No.
You know, we're going to continue doing our stuff.
We both enjoy this. That's the funny part is we talked about it the other day. And those of you that know, I took a day off about 2 weeks ago. Justin was able to do it by himself. And he asked me yesterday, he said, hey, did you get anything up? I said, you know, I think when we talked about doing this, I said I was more of a good supporting role member. He goes, yeah. And I was like, so I couldn't figure out how I was going to have a conversation with myself for an hour. And he started laughing. He's laughing.
Which
now.
Is hilarious because he knows how to play with himself for hours, but he can't have a conversation with himself.
Yeah, but this isn't a camera show, and I'm definitely not I'm not charging $5.99 an hour.
That's
so.
true. That's true. Hey, $5.99 an hour, you're cheap. I figured it'd be $5.99 a minute, but hey.
I'm cheap and easy, but I'm not good.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But yeah, anyway. So I was gonna give it a stab, but it didn't pan out. I was like, oh man, I straight up, I was nervous. A little nervous. I was like, oh man, I don't know how the hell he did that one with him, you know. And then he starts telling me how, and I was like, well, fuck, I could have done that. Shit.
But, and you'll hear it again as you guys we've talked about before. You guys know, Manuel's going to be going to UFC 200. So, and I'm not. I will be staying in town, not making the Vegas trip this time.
And I'm flying out before with podcast. Yeah, so. And actually, you know, I'm not getting back till late Monday either.
So I might be doing Friday and Monday.
Friday and Monday, or you could wait till Tuesday so I could have some Vegas update.
I prefer that for Friday.
Oh, okay. We'll do that for Friday.
And as always, it's not just going to be us. We still have a couple guests in mind. We've talked to a couple people. You know. Soon enough here, we'll have Gio back for another wrestling episode.
So he's about due already. It's been about a month. Yeah, we got to get him back in here.
He's coming in soon here. I've already talked to him. And like I said, we got a couple guys in mind. And hopefully, as our audience grows and the connections that we make grow, we'll have more people in here to talk to, more fun bullshit and stories, more laughs. So for June 13th, it's been Monday. This is episode 14 because now we took a day off and Mondays are the even numbers. So for episode 14... I'm Justin.
Manuel, we've been
totally unprofessional.